Now this project started 5 years ago as originally it was a lawn, a front lawn to a residential property, and over time it's developed into the forest that you see here. And comparatively with a lawn, this is a lot more productive. It's a lot better for the environment. There's no pesticides or chemicals that go into this area at all. And as you can see, there's plenty of yields for humans. Now this is an example of the yield that you can achieve just on one spring day on about a 1/16 of an acre here. Now these are the fava beans that we have harvested just today. And the landscape stays hydrated much longer because it has that area right there, that depression, where the water can then pan out throughout the landscape over time. Okay, and what might look like chaos here is actually a controlled forest planting in its 5th year of growth. And you can actually see we still have space here for annual plantings. Right here, there's some fava beans that we can pick, and that's a harvest that we'll take. And there's also some more specimen plants. This plant right here is the jacket plum, native to southern Africa. It's a great biodiesel crop as well as a source of an edible juicy red berry. And this plant can be established in full sun or in partial shade. Here it's in full sun and it's doing just fine, even with minimal water. Now not all plants prefer full sun. This lucuma here, a native to the Andes of Peru, is actually a tree that prefers to establish itself in the shade of other trees and other shrubs. Now this here is a native ceanothus, and as you can see, it's providing an excellent dappled shade habitat for this lucuma to establish itself. And here we have a dragon fruit cactus climbing up a loquat tree. This does well in the shade of another tree, and it likes to climb and set fruit once it gets to about 12 feet in height. Not everything in the garden is used for food. For example, this rose scent geranium right here is an excellent pest deterrent because of its fragrant leaves. Also, the sheer diversity of having different species planted in one area can confuse the pests, so pest outbreaks aren't as common in this sort of setting. And this area of the forest, see what almost looks like weeds here, but we still have fava beans to harvest. This is April right now, so it's a great time for those. We have some celery coming up on its own right here in the garden. These trees are Tipuana tipu, and they have been cut recently to allow light to penetrate down to some of the understory shrubs and the other younger trees so that they can grow quicker. This is a mesquite tree right here at the base of the tipu tree, the Tipuana tipu, and this mesquite tree will grow into a full-size tree and produce pods which will give a source of an edible flour that's good for baking. And as you can see here, we've used the trimmings from the tipu tree as a mulch over the ground in order to help trap moisture and conserve moisture in the landscape. Although they have been topped, these tipu trees will continue to sprout back, and thus they can be a continual source of mulch. And here we have a small specimen of a Chilean wine palm. This is a juvenile, and in about 80 years it can achieve a height of 50 feet with a sequoia-sized trunk. It will produce fruits that are small but very similar to a coconut and very delicious. This cactus right here is called the apple cactus. It produces an edible fruit, and the stems are also edible. It establishes itself well in the shade of other shrubs here, as it does in its natural habitat. This large shrub right here is a species of Grewia native to southern Africa. It produces a small fruit often referred to as a raisinberry, and such large shrubs as these are very helpful in smothering out any sort of weeds you may have. This edible vine right here is one of the only edible vines in the world that can grow well in shade. This is a native to central to southern Chile, and the Latin name of this species is Lardicibala biternata. It produces a fruit that looks similar to a passion fruit, and as you can see, it grows well here in the shade of this tree. And this species would be an excellent candidate for breeding work in order to create a new system of agroforestry in California. This could be grown on a trellis in between carob trees, which is another species of tree very well adapted to the climate of California. And it's a tree which produces an edible pod, often used as a cocoa substitute after being milled for its carbohydrate-rich powder.